In this video, I'm putting two popular carp fishing methods head to head to see how they stack up.
We'll get a weight on them.
I'll be testing their effectiveness,
Release them.
seeing how they perform in different situations, and breaking down the pros and cons of each. If you've ever wondered which one might give you the edge on your next session, stick around. Now this is going to be a PVA bag versus a method lead. This is 18 mil PVA bag, and we're just gonna kind of see which one pulls more fish. I have never used a PVA bag before, but I have used method lead, so I was definitely curious to see how they differ from each other. The wind was pretty bad, but what had happened was I had a rod go off, but when I picked the rod up, nothing was on the end of my line, so the fish must have just ripped my boilie off. Whether or not this counts as a catch is up to you, but for this so-called experiment, I will count it as a point towards the method lead. Maybe 20 minutes after our first bite on the method, we had a runner on the PVA rod, and that fish was pulling some line. Well, I hope that was caught on video, but we have gotten on to our second fish, and this is on the PVA with a boilie, so that's pretty cool, you know? Oh, he's running at me a little bit. See if I can kind of lower that. I can't even speak. I wasn't even able to get my other rod set up. I just casted it out, and literally I just saw this. My beeper didn't go off, so I was kind of confused. I was like, what's happening? This fish was definitely a hard fighter. I was very impressed on how quick the PVA got picked up, and this was turning into an amazing evening.
And I paid for it in 6 installments last year.
Feels nice.
After about a 15-minute fight, we finally got this nice looking carp in, and I let him hang out in the net in the water so it could relax while I got my rod set up and cast it out to take advantage of what felt like a feeding frenzy.
First carp of the session. This was on the PVA bags. So 9 pounds, this guy. Super cool, amazing first fish of the session. That was on the boilie with the PVA bag. So we've had a hit on the method and a hit on the PVA. So far it seems like you can't go wrong. Whew. Oh man.
It had been some time since that last bite. I was getting worried thinking the fish might have moved out of that area until this happened.
This is the method lead, but I don't have a clue what's on the end of this line right now.
It ended up being a little guy, so I let him chill in the net while I rebaited to get out on the spot in hopes that maybe there were some bigger fish cruising around.
That's why we have nets. Alright, so now that's this little on the method. So far the method is doing better than the PVA bag setup. But that is a nice little guy though. I mean, he's pretty, beautiful orange tail. But yeah, we're gonna let him go.
It's always such a fun time when you have fish ripping off on your lines. I usually always have my best back-to-back bites, usually 2 hours before sunset.
On method lead.
We had our third take on the method, and it was apparent that this tactic was outshining the PVA by quite a stretch. This also was probably the biggest fish of this session, and he put up an amazing fight, which is always so much fun.
He might try to fight me. That's a beautiful fish. Right at 10. Yep. Right at freaking 10.
With the last fish being a nice solid 10-pounder, I was happy to end the session there. But I did see some pretty carpy sightings, so I decided to stick it out for another hour or two, hopeful for one more bite. And not too long after the sunset, I was into another carp.
PVA bag right there. That's a good fish. He's probably right around that 10 mark or close to it, and like maybe 9, kind of like the other guys. Big tail on this guy for sure, but awesome fish. We're gonna wrap him up and we're gonna let him go, but super stoked. It's really cool to see those results, but we're gonna go try this method out at probably a different venue. So excited to go and head towards that. So there.
With the next 2 sessions producing no carp, I was doing my best to find new areas to try this experiment. In the first session, I caught a tiny catfish, and the next one turned into a wild weather experience with tons of hail and sudden changes in weather. After that, I decided to wait a few days before heading out again. In my next session, I brought my pups along so they could enjoy the beautiful weather we had before a big storm rolled in. I went to a lake where I'd caught a good number of carp in the past, and I wanted to start on the side with the sandbait because I figured the carp would be in the shallow water, basking while the warm weather lasted. After getting the rod set up, we had our first bite within 15 minutes. This was on the method lead and ended up being quite the tiny guy, but I'm definitely happy to know that there's still some carp in here.
That's the... Gus, stop it. Go. That's the first little carp of the session. Tiny little guy. Gus, stop it. Beautiful fish.
After we got done with that shenanigans, me and the dogs baited up and decided to cast back out on the same spot we caught our previous one at. Gus thought that there were probably some more carp in the area. And he was right. About only 10 minutes later we were into another one. Unfortunately, my camera battery died, but I was able to get it on my phone. Well, gotta get the dogs, but we got another fish on. It is nice, whatever it is.
There's a second fish on method right there.
Right, there's the boy right there. Stay. After that, I went to drop the dogs off so they could be with the folks. Then I went out and checked this pond that I've never fished before, but supposedly there were carp in there along with a few other species. It was pretty fascinating to not only watch but feel the weather change dramatically over the course of the day. When I started, it was roughly 75 degrees Fahrenheit, Now it's probably close to 55 degrees, and the temps were still going down. I was extremely surprised how quickly my bait got picked up. I had only maybe had my rod in the water for 5 minutes, and we were already into our first fish at this new location.
Oh, please, Lord, let me get this fish in. Cheese and sprinkles, bro.
That's on the PVA right there. That is not a bad fish. Such a hard fighting fish too for the size, like holy crap. That fish fought so freaking hard. Well, we'll get him back to the water. What an awesome catch.
There she goes. As easy as that.
After that fish, we got a rig set up in the same place as before, and it didn't take too long before this fish ripped off with the bait.
Oh, please tell me that was recording.
It definitely was recording, and thank goodness, because that was one of the most aggressive takes I've ever had.
I don't want it to go into that other line. Holy crap, dude.
I couldn't believe the fight this fish was putting up, but for most of us who fish, this is what we live for. A fish that puts up a battle we can remember for years to come.
Okay, yeah, that's not bad. Oh, dude, that head shake's crazy. Dude, that's got to be some of the craziest head shake I have ever felt.
This fish was not giving me an inch, and I was worried that the hook would maybe have came out. So you could say this is definitely a technical dance of some sorts between me and this carp.
That's a bigger fish. I wouldn't say he's huge, but that isn't bad. That is not a bad fish. Oh my goodness.
Go! Alrighty. Oh, finally. I mean, for this body of water, for how small this pond is, That is an absolute freaking stud. Oh man. That is so cool. Well, we're gonna get a weight on him because I just think we have to. The actual weight might be. Almost basically a little over 8.5 pounds. That's good to know though. That's freaking cool. Yeah, he just is like fat. He's not extremely huge.
Sayonara. Thank you.
What an awesome fish to round out the session. For some reason, the PVA setup was absolutely on fire, steadily outpacing the method lead. And once again, it was the PVA rod that got the bite. Not from a big carp this time, but from a cheeky little one.
Little guy, but super cool. Beautiful colors. It's a beautiful red tail. But yeah, this has kind of been average so far, so hopefully we'll get some more here soon.
A half hour had gone by, and I started to get these little ticks on the end of my rod, and I thought that maybe there were just some carp swimming around it and bumping it until this happened.
Oh, what is that? Oh, that's a sucker.
I've never caught one of these before, and I did some research and it did turn out to be a white-nosed sucker. And this was something that doesn't pick up your bait every day, and it was pretty cool to have one of these on the end of my line.
That's so cool to see. Look at that guy. Holy crap. That is so cool. Little sucker, man. See, he got that little sucky. Huh. I think it's a white-nosed sucker. Could be wrong, but there it is.
Wow.
I've been having some amazing luck casting only about 20 yards from the bank in the little pocket that I thought the carp were feeding in. I was using only corn this session just because when I approach a new water, I like to use something that I'm very confident with and to see if there are carp in the area.
Alright. Little baby. Beautiful though, look at that. Full bellies. These guys.
I had just put that last fish back and got my rod set up, when all of a sudden, the method lead rod just took off. I was pretty surprised that the method lead wasn't getting a ton of tanks in this pond, and I thought, well, maybe it's the size of the pond, or the depth, or the stock of the fish. Couldn't really put my finger on it, but probably after an hour, we had our first take on the method. You could definitely feel the weather getting cold too, and I think, for me, this was going to be my last fish before I packed up for the day.
Got another boy on the method. Look at that. These little ones put up such a fight, man. But
This fish rounded the method lead for a total of 5 fish, and the PVA ended up having 4. That means the method lead was the winner. And It ended up being such a close tie between the two, but here's my consensus. The method lead is highly effective at drawing in bigger numbers of carp, especially if you're fishing somewhere where you've never been. But more than that, the method is a great way to start getting an area loaded with bait, especially if you're doing longer sessions to help bring carp to a certain area or spot. The method lead is still my go-to for most situations. The PVA, also an amazing tactic, is great for honing in on a certain carp or a big carp, but I feel like where it shines is if you know where the carp are going to be, as it's a much sneakier rig to chuck out there and let the fish find and hone in on that small patch of bait. I also think it does great in smaller bodies of water because for the fish it's like finding a diamond in the rough, amongst other things around it. I hope this helps out any anglers who are eager to try these two methods, and for those of you who didn't know, I do have an Instagram where I post a more diverse array of content. Feel free to check it out if you get the chance. Thank you for watching, and tight lines to y'all.